thanks for staying with us. Now we go over to South Africa, where the Statistics Bureau is set to release the GDP data for the second quarter of 2023. The data is expected next Tuesday, September the 5th. But ahead of that, Matt Kindiger, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa Frontier View, joins us to share his expectations for the country's economy. Good afternoon, Matt. It's good to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show today.
Matt, we're talking South Africa mostly all the time. What are you expecting from the country's GDP release on Tuesday next week?
So the most important thing is whether South Africa will avoid a contraction. So it is possible that South Africa's economy will fall into recession at some point this year. The big question is, will that be the second quarter or will it be the third quarter? Our view is probably more likely the third quarter. In terms of the second quarter data that we're expecting, growth of 0.1%, 0.2% will be a good day for South Africa. But what we're likely to see is continued divergence between different sectors of the economy. What we have seen in recent years, despite overall stagnation, or recent quarters, is despite stagnation of the South Africa's economy, the economy grew 0.2% year on year in the first quarter this year. There has been very significant divergence between services industries that have done a lot better and heavy industries that have done a lot worse. So continued contractions, for example, in the mining industry, manufacturing, but financial services, ICT doing a lot better. So we're probably going to see a continuation of this trend, but we did see a 1.5% year-on-year contraction in retail sales in May. So that does suggest that even services industries are starting to struggle a little bit. On the other hand, load shedding, power shortages in South Africa in the beginning of the winter, sort of at the end of Q2, were actually relatively not too bad, and so there could be a little bit of a reprieve for the South African economy. So it could go either way, but at best case scenario, we're probably going to see 0.2, 0.3% growth for Q2.
I know that South Africa just had the BRICS summit, and there's been some euphoria from it, especially with the issuance of the local currency bonds. But how do you expect the economy in South Africa to perform for the rest of the year?
So I think, the BRICS conference will have a moderate impact on South Africa, if anything. What's much more important in terms of what will be determining the country's growth outlook over the next 6 months or so, or into 2024, will be the effect of rising interest rates. So interest rates are now at a 15-year high. They haven't been this high since the end of the financial crisis in 2008. And we are beginning to see the effects of very high interest rates on credit growth. So credit in South Africa, especially to corporations, has shrunk for the first time since 2020 over the last couple of months. And so this really does suggest that businesses are withholding borrowing because of the cost of servicing debt. We also will see what the effects of continued load shedding will be. Our base case view is that power shortages will get worse before they get better in South Africa, and this will have a continued negative effect on manufacturing and also on sentiment and operational costs in South Africa. So our view is that the economy will probably muster, on average, 0.1% growth year on year this year. Maybe an upside scenario is closer to 0.5% growth. So relatively muted expectations for the next 3 to 4 months.
So how will the rand perform over the coming months? What do you see?
Yeah, so the rand will continue to exhibit quite significant volatility in our view. So the rand touched a record low against the dollar in May. We expect it to reach another record low against the dollar. So it probably will touch 20, maybe a bit more than that, by the end of this year, and this will be driven by the economy's continued slowdown, concerns around load shedding, also investor anxiety as we get closer to the May 2024 election. So certainly a lot of uncertainty around what the policy direction of the new government will be after the May 2024 election. Having said that, South Africa's, the rand does respond to global investor sentiment. So when there's positive global economic data, the rand generally appreciates. We also expect the South African Reserve Bank to raise interest rates if the rand does lose quite a lot of value. So this will, allow the rand to regain some ground. However, overall, the main takeaway is more depreciation and continued volatility of the currency, especially as we head towards the May 2024 election.
We'll look forward to that and keep tracking it, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt Kindiger, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa Frontier View, for joining us on Business Incorporated.
Thanks very much.